back to the club. We're your hosts. I'm Ebony Chapman.
And I'm Akila Friend.
Okay, you guys. So today we're doing a Valentine's Day special for all you lovers out there with that special someone or someone that you're looking for, or maybe you've decided to put yourself first. This episode is for you, okay? We are joined today by the certified astrologist Tamerii, who is here to talk about spirituality, connection, and love. And of course, she'll be doing a reading on Akila and myself a little later on in the episode. So we're so excited to have her. So please, let's give a warm welcome to Tamerii. Welcome to the club, girl.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes, we're super excited to have you.
We're so excited to have you. When I tell you, I think we just love astrology. Like, we honestly were like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm a Gemini, Ebony's a Taurus. We lead with that often. I've had like an astrology reading once before, but honestly, once is not enough. I'm like, what's going on? Let's talk. Let's figure it out, especially when you're going through different stages of your life. So awesome. Amazing to have you.
Yes.
How about we start with, for the folks who may not be so inclined with astrology, or you know, but you think you know and you don't know enough because you never spoke to Tamerii before.
Yes, right.
How about you give us, an overview of what astrology is, and perhaps also dive into a little misconceptions you might hear.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll try to keep it as brief and understandable as possible. Okay, so basically astrology is just the idea that we are connected to the cosmos. That's probably the simplest way to explain it, that what happens as above, so below, which makes complete sense to me, because if we're a part of the universe, we're a part of nature, why wouldn't we be affected by it? We're all a part of an ecosystem that we need each other. We need the air to breathe. We don't need animals. That's, now we know we don't need them, but you know what I'm saying? We need nature to survive. And so, the moon's gravitational pull on Earth, influences the waves. So to me, it makes total sense that we would be affected by what's going on in the cosmos, but not everyone obviously subscribes to that, and that's totally fine. The thing about astrology, though, is that it is connected to nature. Like when the sun moves into Aries, that's the beginning of spring. When it moves into Libra, that's fall. So it's directly connected to nature. It's an ancient practice that, people were using this over 5,000 years ago. And so, or maybe that might be a little bit of exaggeration, but thousands of years ago.
Millions of years.
Know. We're here, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So, but basically, yes, it's a tool that can help you navigate life based on what's going on in the universe. And that's the best way I can describe it. So being in tune to the moon cycles, where the sun is, where Venus is, which affects relationships, what I know we're going to talk about. And just having that awareness so that you can plan better. I don't subscribe to the fact that it's like fatalistic or you're, doomed if you have this one chart. I see it more as a tool that, like, I like to give an example that if you're driving a car, it's like, it's the map, it's the journey that tells you where to go. You can turn different ways, you can make choices, but ultimately it's a guide for you. So that's what I like to use it for.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into this because I feel like there's definitely some great debaters out there that have just kind of like a different viewpoint of astrology versus religion and how that ties in together. So we'll definitely get into that. But I also wanted to ask you, like, as we're still getting to know who Tamerii is as a person and as an astrologist, like, being an astrologist or astrology is a very has a very tailored audience.
Yeah.
Like, only a certain amount of people are going to be like into this. It's worldwide, but I don't know. It's not like there's such a great
there's gradients, like kind of how some folks are devout, some folks are more like, okay, I know my sun sign.
Yeah.
Right. But they don't know what else. So it's like, what piqued your interest to tap into astrology and then take it beyond passion project and turn it into your career?
Oh, I love this question. So astrology has kind of always been a part of my life. I grew up in a very spiritual household. My dad had a naming ceremony for me. My name is Egyptian. It was an ancient name for Egypt. And his friend did a natal chart reading when I was just a baby. And so that was one of the things that, he would say, oh, he said not to put you in red because you were born on the sign of the bull, Taurus. You need to be in yellow. Like, there would just be little things and tips that he subscribed to. But it was a guidance, like, this is who she might become, and it helps with parenting. And so it wasn't really something that was that foreign to me. What really had me want to learn how to read charts, and I didn't even know I was going to become a certified astrologer. When I was in college, or actually right after I graduated college, I was working at a marketing company, and their manager of the Astro Twins, their celebrity astrologers. She worked in my office. And so they did a reading on me. And this was a time where I was like going through a lot in my life emotionally, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
We all
Going
know.
through it.
Going through it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And just needing guidance. And, you know, I like to go deep with this story because I feel like it helps people understand my why. But when I was 13, my mom took her life. And that was like something that was very, you know, influential on my family's life, on my personality. It's something I bottled up, kept inside. I didn't talk about it. I smiled through everything. And it really like manifested around 21 for me. And so it was just, I was just looking for something. And then the Astral Twins walked through Beverly Hills office. And
wow.
yeah, and I was like, oh, I love astrology. And they're like, well, you're either a Taurus or a Scorpio. And I'm like, well, I'm a Taurus and I'm a Scorpio rising.
Wow.
And the fact that they could even just look at me, I was like, first of all, how did you do that?
Literally.
And I didn't know how to read a chart. I mean, I would just read, you know, horoscopes and stuff, and I knew about the 12 signs. And so I bought my first book. It's the Everything You Need to Know About Astrology, but it's either that or the Llewellyn's astrology book, if anybody is looking to kind of study.
Yeah, give them the tips.
And this was over 15 years ago.
Wow.
So I was like, I didn't know it was this much to it. So I kept reading. I started taking classes, and it was a hobby for me. It helps me navigate career. It helped me navigate my relationship at the time. And my boyfriend that I was with for a very long time, he was like, you need to charge for this because you're doing it for friends, family. He's like, you can make this a business, Capricorn. And,
right, Capricorns do be on that mess.
Right. I know. I married a Capricorn. So
Yes.
it's just fun.
You can make money. And what are you doing?
He was like, what are you doing? You're giving all your energy away. And so I just didn't believe. I was like, nobody's going to care about this. And this was before this was before Instagram. This was before people were really doing it on YouTube. It was just, and so anyway, long story short, that relationship, I got in another relationship, and you know, I was like, I should charge for this. And I've always worked in beauty and product development. So I had product development for a skincare brand called Burst. Shop us at Target. So basically, I was just doing both. And I started a business. This was 2015. I made it official. My boyfriend at the time did the website.
Go ahead, boyfriend.
She was my partner's wisely.
Shout out to the Scorpio, the Capricorn, the Scorpio.
Those are the signs I need to be with. I got it. I like Capricorn. So if that already...
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
And so, yeah, it's just been one of those things. And it's funny because a lot of my clients have been in beauty industry professionals and executives and people that are just around me. So I very much made it a part of, like, you know, there's a lot in my chart about creativity and beauty and working in that lane. But then the spirituality is there. And I've been able to merge both, which has been a really good process for me. And I want other people to do this. I want to help them do that too. So that's really why I do this.
There's so much there, and we're gonna like unpack a bunch of things because I think it's incredible that, you know, you don't know, like hindsight is 20/20, but the fact that from your dad, from literally your natal chart reading when you were a child.
I need to know what colors we're not wearing.
Yeah, even that
colors
too.
we not be wearing.
Right? But I think it's interesting too, like you said, your first boyfriend mentioned like, okay, you can potentially charge for this or what you're doing. Like, what exactly were you doing when it comes to your friends or one-off folks? Like, what were you doing for your boyfriend to say, okay,
he's like, what's going on?
Right.
What's going on? Yeah. So people would literally come and I would pull up their chart. I would tell them about themselves. I would tell them, and this would be like friends. It would be family members. It would be coworkers. There was at one point in my job, people would come by and get cards read by me. They'd be like, okay, I need help. I'm going through this. And I was just doing it for people. And it's like, well, people are taking your energy. And really, when you continue to do that, and I tell this story because it's like when you're putting something out there and you're not getting paid for it, and you know you should, you're just telling the universe that you're not worthy of monetizing from your gifts. And I don't think there's anything wrong with monetizing for your gifts. Like, you can do good and make money at the same time. So that's kind of what it came down to for me.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, was that the same when it comes to your own life? You said you looked at astrology throughout your life when it came to your career, relationships. Like, what exactly were you looking for? Like, when you
that's the personal part.
Right.
Okay, so with career, I mean, I've always been a a go-getter. Like, I've been working my entire life. Like, you know, 7 internships in college. I was a TV production major, so I did, worked at studios, and I was just really like, what's my thing? And I thought I wanted to produce fashion content, and I was really just trying to search what would make me happy. And I found in the industries that I was working, I wasn't vibing with the energy and the people. I've had some really bad, experiences, even as an intern, as a young, a 17-year-old,
right.
literally
a child,
an adult,
right.
in a professional, and not, and I've always been very hard on myself. And so what astrology helped me do is realize that I didn't have to sacrifice both parts of my personality. So even though I was working, like I did work as a fashion buyer, then I worked at a Marie Claire magazine, I worked at fashion magazine, and I worked at, skincare brands. And when I started doing readings for people, I was like, there's something here. There's something about people like making astrology more relatable and not scary, making it fun, helping people with real problems, but not being like so woo-woo. And so that kind of stuck with me. And I still haven't completely figured it out. I think now I'm doing it with my new product line, how I'm kind of merging both worlds.
Yes.
Gift of the Nile.
Yes.
Not displayed in front if you're watching.
Nile.com.
Yeah,
The Gift of the Nile. And so it was just one of those things where I was able to like customize, okay, this is what you should do. Let's merge both of those worlds together. And then I realized that the more I did readings for people and helped them, it helped me heal from my own, because I was expressing my gifts, and I learned in my chart that I'm a healer. And so, and that's through I'm also a Reiki energy healer. And so healing people literally with my words, with my, so once I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do both, like honoring all sides of yourself. So you're living a more fulfilled life.
I think something that you said that was great was just like, or what I heard was when you kind of like figure yourself out or like know yourself and kind of can pick up your weaknesses, the strengths, and then figure out a way in which you can make something work for you. That's kind of what I heard. And I was like, that's great. Because it's really understanding yourself. Yeah. Because like when you're searching and trying to figure out like, maybe I want to do fashion, maybe I want to do magazine production, like you're all over the place and your mind's all over the place. Yeah. So then it's like when you finally get to the point where you're like, okay, I know who I am, I know what I like, this is what I'm choosing, this is it, then it kind of like branches out from there.
Yes. It's a self-awareness tool. And even if it's not astrology, people should do that. Right. Through therapy, through whatever, if they want to go to church, like people need to learn, why am I here? Because I believe we're all here for something.
Because it's hard when you're like kind of roaming through the world without like a rhyme or reason. You're kind of like, what am I doing? What is my purpose?
That's part of the journey.
No,
or
sometimes
part
of the journey.
Your purpose. Probably you're that person that needs to roam so that you're showing others like, okay, like this is how it is to be more free, or this is how it is to not be, whatever that
But I'm saying as long as it makes you happy, though, right? Because it's like, if you're in a space where you're not happy being in this roaming space, it's going to be for anyone. It's going to be very stressful, but
that's a good point.
And life can't always be happy.
Right.
And so that, I think that also helps. Astrology helps you understand that there's cycles. Yeah. Like, just like there's winter and fall, we have that. And so when you lean into it and unsettle, like, okay, I'm in my winter season. I'm just going to sit here and take the lesson, because when you come out of it, you're like, oh, I understand why I went through that. Like,
and you're up on a different level.
Exactly. Then you're gonna go to the next challenge.
I love that, because you know what that says? It says it's not over. This is not all there is. Yeah. The fact that it's a season. It's literally
levels. It's literally levels to it.
That's such a good reminder. Yes. I think that's a daily reminder that I think right now I needed to hear. Kinks that maybe you needed to hear.
Girl, yes.
Like we're in a season of life that isn't permanent, and I think that's really great to take away from. But I wanted to get into you were saying how when you were in your relationship and you were like reading people, or even like at work you were reading people, were you like that? Like when someone gets into psychology and then all of a sudden they're like psychoanalyzing you like all the time, like, you know what, you're really doing this, and I'm not really appreciating blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying?
You said good morning but not good day.
That means that this, right? So like when you were reading people, was that kind of like the energy where they're like, okay, enough, Tamerii?
No.
Or they're like, no, help.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's almost like it started attracting, coming to me. And I have Pluto in my first house in my whole sign. So sometimes it's magnetic. The things that are supposed to come to you, come to you. And so it was more like people would show up, or they'd have a problem, or I'd be going through something, or I understood. And then I was able to be like, well, let's look at this and see. So yeah, it wasn't like I went around chasing it. I think then people would be like, oh, Tamerii does this. And then they would like stop by and
love that.
Yeah, but I would never push it on anyone. Even now, I don't really talk about, I used to talk about astrology a lot.
Like
I'm past mid-30s now, so I'm 37, but in my early 20s, that's all I was talking about. So I've learned that, it doesn't matter. I don't need to talk about it. If it comes to me, people will talk and we have a conversation, but there's much more to life than that.
Yes.
So yeah, I have other interests too, but yeah.
The last thing I want to ask about that story was like the Astro twins.
Yeah.
So you said literally, it seemed like couple words and they're like, okay, this house and this. Like, what was your conversation with them like? And I'm curious if now, throughout your journey and where you are now in astrology, do you feel like you kind of embody that now with other folks?
I love that story because I love that question. Actually, one of the things that I asked them about, I remember, was like, well, my career, because I was actually doing like hosting stuff just as for fun. And then I was like, but I like interior design. Like I want to do this. And I was asking them about that. Right. And they saw the creativity in the chart. But what I learned is that, okay, I don't necessarily have to be interior design. That could just be something that I express at home. But creating things is what I'm good at. And and I didn't know I was going to work in product development. I didn't even know that job existed. So I kind of actually fell into creating beautiful things or creating beauty for people. And so it was just one of the things that I had talked about with them. I really remember that. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, that's so crazy now I can look back.
Yeah. It's interesting just like listening to, we talk to like, a ton of people all the time on the podcast. And it's just interesting to hear like people are like, oh, I fell into this, or I knew someone who gave me this or gave me the connection to that. And sometimes it's almost hard to fully tell someone's like true story, because sometimes it's just something that like you just have to go through to like feel it, know it, understand it, so it's like as much as we try to like
copy and paste someone else's life,
you
like,
can't.
It's really
I love that you said that. Copy and paste someone's. You should trademark it, or not trademark, but
that's a shirt,
right? The BlackRadersClub.com.
I like that.
Yes.
Love that. Because it's all in your chart. It's like a fingerprint. Like this is your chart, and what are you going to do with it? I love that you said that.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's talk a little bit more. Let's go to general astrology. So obviously, we know when we first talk about astrology, most times folks are pretty aware of, hey, I'm a Gemini, like I said, or a Taurus, but
not really one Gemini in one room.
I feel like I'm being ganged up on, but I'm going to hold my truth.
You're rising in the Taurus. I was like, that's why we get along great. I can't wait for you to read our chart.
Okay, it's coming up. So can you break down other elements of folks' chart that they should know about, or probably start to explore outside of the fact that, okay, they know they were born in this month and that makes them X.
So even, I see you have one I've pulled on your computer today. I printed one out too, just because I was like,
hold it up for folks just in case.
I know, let me see. I'll put it when we edit this. I'll put it in the thing, the picture, so it could pop up. But I just Googled like astrology, and like you go to images and like, something will pop up. But so I was like, so yours looks way more in depth. It has numbers and whatnot. This was just kind of like basic. So go ahead and break it down.
Yeah, and that's funny. That's the Tamerii that you pin. It's like one of the original. That's just the zodiac signs, which she showed, and it basically had Cancer on the first house, and this is how the rulerships were assigned. That's very advanced, but I'm not going to go into that. Okay. But so basically your chart is, if you took a picture of like the cosmos the moment you were born, that's kind of basically what your chart represents. And
which are stars, right?
Yeah, the stars. So let's say where the planets were, where the asteroids were, where the moon was, where the sun was. And it's a geocentric type of view, because we know that the sun isn't going around us. We know that we're all going around the sun. But from our standpoint, this is how it looks. So in the chart, basically, it's just a representation of where those planets were. Those planets talk to each other, like how we're talking to each other in the chart, through their the positions that they're in. So whether it's a square or a trine or a sextile, which is just degrees. So that's where the astronomy comes in. And so based on where they're sitting with each other, someone like me, an astrologer, is going to interpret how those planets are getting along and how it's expressing through your personality. So how are you expressing that? And then what's showing up in your life that forms your personality. So your natal chart is really like your soul's roadmap. That's kind of how it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
But there's other charts, like the planets where they are now, they affect your chart. And so that's when you're reading horoscopes, astrologers are usually writing with the sun sign on the ascendant. And then they're writing as if, okay, the sun's going through these houses. And so that's why sometimes people are like, well, that horoscope was not right. Well, it wasn't. They said it based basically based on the sun. So it wasn't based on your actual chart. So I tell people to read for your rising sign if you're going to read horoscopes.
Really?
It might be more accurate because
yeah.
it's based on that rising sign being in that location. So there's a lot more to it, but astrology's been commercialized.
Yes.
And so like we like it. It's entertainment. So, but when you have a real astrology reading, it's going to go more into depth. It can tell you about your parents.
I know.
It's very intimate, and it's like you can get a lot of information. Like I'd like to do it for people I don't know,
Yeah.
because then I have no biases, I have no skin in the game, and I can just talk about what I see. And most people are like, wow,
That's incredible.
completely accurate.
It's funny because when I think about like my future and I think about like my kids, I'm like, okay, I can't have an Aries. And I
Honestly, I'm
also
thinking about that
That's
too.
funny
Yeah.
that you're saying that because your Venus is in Aries. So
I don't like them. Like, and then I don't want. Sorry, boo. I don't want a Gemini
Oh,
kid
you don't want
either.
That's crazy.
But it's interesting because when I met Akila and we met and we got along great, but this is before we talked about signs.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, like we just click, like we just get each other. Like that, you know, that connection with people doesn't happen often.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And so I was like, wow, this is great. And then when she told me she was a Gemini, I was like, oh my God. I was like,
Something ain't adding up.
because I worked with a Gemini and she was so like,
It's, y'all, now we having one story of one Gemini in the world. Running
That's
wild.
true. People do
Running
that.
wild.
it was true.
I dated one Gemini, never
and then
again.
you know what that means? We are so impactful, baby.
Oh, wait. I love that. She comes up with it. But then I dated a Gemini, and that was also, we were clashed. We definitely clashed. Like, we're friends now, so, you know, hey, shout out to you. But, like, we just could not date. Like, we just could not date. So that's why I'm like, okay, I don't want this
That's
kid,
funny.
that
It's
kid.
yeah.
So I'm
But
like,
to know it's
But-
based on the rising now. Like,
But
more
no,
on
it's
that.
based on more. So like you can avoid that kid, but what if they have a Gemini moon or Gemini
True.
rising? Or that, you know what I mean?
as long as
Child,
we're
a
not,
mother's love,
as long
honey.
as we're
Like,
as long as we're not birthing any serial killers,
Oh,
I'm
yeah, that's
good.
true. That's
I'm
true.
good.
Yeah. That's so funny.
What
That's
moon
so-
are they in? Because we can't.
Oh,
we need
actually,
to figure that out.
It's funny
Is that a
because
thing?
Jeffrey Dahmer has like most of his planets were exalted in this chart. I believe it's Jeffrey Dahmer. It's one of the serial killers, not him. It's another one, which means like usually people see that as a good thing, where a planet is like it's considered to be in high esteem. But when you have too much of that, like so a lot in astrology college,
Yes.
sometimes you'll look at people's charts and you're like, wow, like that showed up
like
for them like this.
sociopaths.
Yeah,
very,
like
very
he really
narcissistic.
has no,
Right.
like I can do whatever I want. Like
Yeah.
my planets are exalted. Like,
That's
so
such
that was
a,
like,
wow.
so it's like I don't always see it as a good thing when you
Right.
have too much good in your chart.
Yeah.
Quote unquote good, but yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Oh, we're so ready for this reading.
I know. Okay. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so when you're looking at a chart, you know, we're all based on an animal. It's funny because I actually wear mine on my chain, on my neck. I got it super dainty and like cute. It's a Taurus symbol. And so what does that mean that each month has an animal placed with it? Like, what
Do
does that-
Geminis have an animal? I feel
Well, it's
like
the twins.
people.
It's not all the-
twins.
oh, it's not-
They're
they're not
all
all
or
animals.
symbol
Right.
or
Symbols,
yeah.
right.
They're all archetypes. So basically it's like what you, I mean, it's based on the constellations that we
Okay.
have. And there's 88 constellations. So
Yeah.
these are the 12 main ones that we use in traditional astrology. But basically the sign itself isn't important. I hate to say it's not important. It is important, but people put so much weight on the sign.
Yeah.
It's the planets in that sign
Wow.
is what it's doing. So
Okay.
when somebody says I'm a Taurus, that means the sun was in Taurus when I was born.
What does that mean though?
And
What
so-
does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, in Taurus, in Gemini, in Aries.
So the
like, what
sun
does
was
that mean?
sitting in the constellation.
constellation.
Yes, at that time of the
Oh,
year.
okay.
And so obviously there's a billion other people born during that time, right?
Right.
And there's subdegrees within the zodiac. So that's I don't know if I want to go into
Wow.
that
I'm
today.
going to ask a dumb
But-
question.
Yeah.
So when you're saying the sun was in Taurus or in this constellation, in this star alignment.
Yep.
Okay.
Where
the
is
dumb
it?
question
Yeah.
is like stars are at night, sun's during the day.
Yeah,
So
but
what-
the day is because of the sun, right? So
Right.
it's still there.
Yeah.
Like,
I see.
yeah,
So it doesn't
the
matter.
sun-
The
it's just
sun
a
is just
You
position.
can't see it as
Yeah.
clearly as you would.
when the
if
sun
is there.
appears to set,
Mhm.
then we can see them, but they're there no matter what.
Okay.
Just like
good.
the full moon is a full moon
Good
because it's the
clarification.
light
Right.
of the sun. So yeah, but that's a good question.
Right.
Because I'm a very visual. I think as a Taurus too, and I have Mercury in Taurus as well. I'm so visual and literal.
Oh my
like
God,
if I
same.
can't see
She's
what's
She's
going
making fun of me
on,
all the time.
I'm like, but what? So I understand.
Yeah.
Like, and even astronomy is very complex, and so
Yeah.
as astrologers, you're always encouraged to study that. Even that, it still confuses me when I think, okay. but seeing it on this two-dimensional chart, I mean, y'all can't see it, but
we'll put it up, I guess.
it makes it easier for me to be like, okay, because basically this is like we're in the center of this is Earth, and then we can see if we were looking up the sun going around and setting.
And that's funny because Akila's also like a visual person too. Like, and that's what she was saying. I make fun of her because I'll say something to her, or even someone else says something to her, will take me out of it, and she'll be like, we need to run that back. I'll run it. We gotta, let me see, explain that again.
And put a chart together out of nowhere because I'm just kind of like, okay.
Analytical.
Right.
Or I'll like say like, here's my vision, right? Let's do this color with that over here and put this here and make this flyer. And she's like, I'm gonna just need to see it.
Yeah.
All right, I got it.
Yeah.
She don't see the vision. I gotta
No.
put it on the paper.
Make it tangible. Make it plain.
Yeah.
I want to also talk about the greater idea of astrology. Sometimes folks might get touchy because they think of, if they're rooted in spirituality versus astrology, can you have both? Especially, I'm going to say within like Black America, because, we are very much, as a collective, everyone is different, but very much rooted in the faith, so to speak. And so talk about that, especially you being a Black female astrologer and good at your craft, great at your craft. Like, what does that mean when you're, not combating, but just dealing with multiple identities. Right.
No, that's a good question. And you know what? I never want to push someone to do anything. Like, this has been a useful tool for me. It's been useful for all of my clients, but I think there's a space for both. Like, it's not a religion. You can be Christian, you can be Hindu, you can be, Jewish and still, like astrology. In fact, in ancient times, priests were astrologers. Like, astrology was a part of life before Christianity came along, and then there wasn't room for both. And so that's a whole nother topic that's very, I don't want to go down
a little bit.
Yeah,
Christian crusade is crazy.
I mean, it wasn't useful to have, astrology as, but it's not necessarily, like, I don't know if anybody's been able to say where it says astrology is bad. I think more of the idea of fortune telling, from my perspective, is what is
telling
mentioned
in the future.
Yes. But then there's an argument that a lot of astrologers say, but they said that he looked at the 3 stars, you know what I mean? And that was astrology. So there's a lot of different arguments that can go back and forth. We know that the stars were used as navigational tools. They were used for guidance in ancient times. And at some point there was a separation, and now it's controversial. But I feel like it's controversial because people don't know what it is. So I'm the person that if you're against something, tell me why. Tell me why you're against it, what's wrong with it, and I will respect that. But if you've never even had a reading, or you don't know, or if you've never read about it, then I'm kind of like, well, I won't even bother, because I'm not going to argue with someone over something. I'm like, don't do it. Like, I'm totally fine with that. So, but I think there's room for both.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense completely.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too, because like, a while ago I was studying with like a Jehovah's Witness, and I always have my necklace on. I never take it off. Shower, gym, like I just never take it off because I like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not because it's like my sign, but just because it's small, dainty, and gold. But that's why I like it. That's why I always wear it. And so she was saying that astrology basically is like not religious. It's like shouldn't be. It's like nowhere in the Bible that it says this, that, and the third, and like you shouldn't study the stars. I think hold on, I was like trying to find my little question. I'm like, wait, where did it go? Okay. So again, like you said, it was kind of like religious people kind of look at astrology as like storytelling or fortune telling, future, like getting your palm read or something like that.
Right.
And it's so like taboo.
Right.
And it's so bad, and that, you shouldn't know your future, and that's why she was like, it's bad. But so what I'm hearing, it sounds like it's kind of like not really like future telling. It's
it can be.
People might, right?
So it can be. That's not my style. Astrologers that really like can see down to like, you might have an accident this day, or you might move on this time, and I can.
That is crazy. So, okay, so now I'm just trying to get an understanding when it does come to like psychic, like someone being psychic versus astrology and religion, right? So now these are like 3 different
like
sectors.
the mediums, right?
What are we saying here exactly? Like astrology and being psychic have
so I would put them under,
what is the word?
They're correlated.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say it's more of they're all occult studies, like mysticism, metaphysics. That's kind of how I would categorize it. there are astrologers, like astrology, you don't have to be psychic to know astrology. It's
Right.
you literally can study and learn about it and just, do it. But I think a lot of people that do it do have intuitive abilities. So like I have intuitive abilities. I feel things, I sense things about people. I wouldn't call myself a psychic, but I've always been very tuned into stuff.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I'm doing readings, things do come to me that are not necessarily in the chart, and I'll ask. And so but it's not that you have to be a psychic to be. And I'm not into the fact of telling someone, well, tomorrow's going to be a bad day. I might say, you might want to be careful because this energy is going on. Just be careful. Like, don't be, it's accident prone energy. But, so there's ways to do it. I don't know, like a Uranus-Mars square or something. Yes. But so it's just... But I don't like to scare people. I like to use it for empowerment. So
and you know what? It's like how you do it. And I think because honestly, I think the core of a lot of folks, and I know for me, I'll speak personally, like when I would seek astrology or look at even the basic horoscopes, is more like you're looking for some sort of answer.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you're looking for some sort of thing and you're going about it in a positive way, in an honest way, and the receiver, the person giving it, is going about it in a positive and honest way, I can see like just fruitful conversation. I think that's it. I was watching Indian Matchmaker.
I did watch that. Of course I had to watch it.
Detour. So one thing about that I loved was that literally to get married, a lot of I don't know if they were all Hindu, but like a lot of the folks would actually have an astrologer read them is it their full on birth chart or their to see
so they're using
compatible.
and Vedic astrology that's usually how people refer to it. It's huge in India. Like most friends that I have that are Indian, their families have astrologers. Like there's nothing taboo for them. The style is a little bit more fatalistic or like this is going to happen. But I'm familiar more with that style, but I'm a Western, more traditional astrologer.
Got it. Okay. Good to see the difference. I mean, because folks would literally not marry. They're like, okay, it doesn't align. Like, literally, we're not going to go down this road.
I mean, do you think that that's a bad idea, though? Like, if you're getting married to someone, like, have you and your husband gotten your charts read together?
I mean, I did it for us.
Was it compatible?
Yeah, it's very compatible.
See? But would you have married him, or maybe would you be like contemplating breaking up if it didn't match up?
You know what? I think you have to go by what's happening in real life. Like you can't just have the chart speak to you. Like if you're vibing and you love someone just because they're a Gemini, or you're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like that's not. I would not encourage that. I would say get to know. Like I always tell people now, get to know the person first. If you're into astrology, don't come off the bat asking their sign, looking up their chart. Like I know we all
I'd be
have.
doing that.
I know we
What's
all.
your sign,
I was
honey?
doing that. I was doing that,
What's
and
your
I
sign?
don't know if that is. You want to give people a chance to be themselves, at least for like a week or two. I don't know. Some restraint. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just think get to know someone, and then if you have, I'm noticing things. Oh, okay, that confirms because this is then I don't know. That's just kind of my opinion now.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
1 second, let me just
get it out, girl.
I don't know what that was about. Okay.
Maybe you need some. Do you want some water?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, let me
take a little sip,
Yes,
little
this is
swig. That is so interesting. Okay, ready? Okay, I think that's so interesting because I kind of almost feel now, like just having this conversation, I'm over here thinking like, should I get like whoever I decide I'm actually going to commit to? Whoever my decision,
right, exactly.
All the options
Read between the lines there.
that like I'm like maybe we should we have our charts read together?
I love
just
that.
To see
I
like
mean,
why not?
If you're gonna go to marriage counseling beforehand, you're
Right.
doing therapy on your own, potentially couples therapy. Just add a little chart in there.
Yeah, I know.
I
don't want to get divorced. Like I need to know. I need to know what I'm getting myself into.
Yes.
Okay. Like that might not be a bad idea.
And there's never going to be perfect. Like there's no perfect relationship.
Right.
There's no perfect chart. Trust me, I've run charts of a lot of people in my life, and it's just never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You have to just really, at the end of the day, how does that person make you feel? And then the chart helps you understand things.
Yeah. I mean, these last few years have been wild for everyone, between the pandemic, really the pandemic, and
Really the pandemic,
everything
right.
else.
Yeah.
So, what can you say, or as you were doing your own readings or, your own work for this past month or so, like what can you say folks can look forward to or can be expecting out of 2022 overall?
Yeah, one of the most positive things, or can be positive things about 2022 is Jupiter in Pisces. the sign that it rules traditionally. So Jupiter is a planet of, luck, expansion. It's considered to be a benefic in astrology. It's a feel-good planet. And it was in Aquarius and, air sign, dry. Before that, it was in Capricorn and its detriment, which doesn't operate well. So Jupiter, planets like to be in the signs that they rule. So basically, as a Taurus, Venus is your ruler. As a Gemini, Mercury is your ruler. It's the planet that is governing that sign, that zodiac sign. So it would be like
that it is in the governing sign is when it's
a
great year.
In your chart. Well, let me take a step back. So planets. Okay, so Mercury governs Virgo and Gemini. When it's in those signs in your chart or in a planet, it's in that sign, it can act how it wants to act. Planets like to rule over their own domain. Okay. So if Venus is in Taurus, Venus is happy in Taurus because it rules Taurus. It's like you being at home, basically in your house. You're gonna feel more comfortable at your home than if you go somewhere. So is what astrology is. Those planets are always moving. They're always moving. So they're always moving to new signs. So every time the sun moves into it's Scorpio season, the sun moved into Scorpio. Then it moves into Sagittarius. Okay. So all the planets do that. So basically, when planets are in their own sign, they like to be there. So Jupiter changes signs like every year.
So question. So it's so just make sure I'm understanding. It sounds like sun is like your Taurus, your Gemini, right? Your Capricorn. Yep. That's so when that sun is in that star alignment, then that's like your birth chart sign, right? And then the other planets, Jupiter, Venus, they also move and are also like rotating in their own constellations. Yep. So your sun in Taurus. So if my sun's in Taurus, then Venus and Jupiter and all the other things are going to be in whatever other signs and other and other correlations, meaning whatever personality is going on is going to be different. Yes. And the energy is going to be different. And
it's all different at the same time. It's like, and it explains our personalities and why we're so different as people.
So every year for Jupiter, but it doesn't mean every year for each of the other planets.
So all the planets travel at different speeds. So the sun, like Venus and Mercury follow the sun. They move very fast. Mercury retrograde 3 weeks and it's out. You know what I mean? It moves at a fast speed. Jupiter moves slowly. The outer planets move slower. Okay. So Jupiter every year changes signs. Gotcha. And so that is where we see generations of things. The further you get out with planets like Pluto and Scorpio, I was born during the Pluto and Scorpio generation. Pluto spends a lot of time in a sign. Neptune, Uranus, they spend a lot of time. Uranus is like 7 years. Like right now, it's in Taurus right now. It's shaking up Taurus life. So basically Jupiter kind of checks. That's how we can look at like kind of how the year is going to go in some way in terms of what good and difficulties will come out of it. So Jupiter in Pisces, when you think about Pisces, it's a water sign. It's mutable water. So that's flexibility. That's more movement. So Saturn ruled signs are Aquarius and Capricorn in traditional astrology. Jupiter was more restricted in those signs. Now he can move freely. Okay, travel might open up because Jupiter is connected to travel. Water, but on the dark side, I hate to go dark but like Pisces also rules water. So we might see more rain. We're not seeing it in LA. But you know what I mean? But there was like a tsunami warning like a couple weeks ago. I was like, Jupiter and Pisces.
Yes. Reading the news. That's great. So when you're born, I know we did the charts and you asked for certain information. So let's say every year, I just want to now talk yearly. Yeah. When your sun is in your sign, in your constellation, at the certain time that you were born, is it like the same energy?
Yes and no. So
that's the same energy.
You're talking about a solar return chart. So there's so many charts in astrology. It gets a little complex. So there's your natal chart that never changes. That natal chart there's a progress chart where the planets move like 1 degree per year. And so that kind of has an emphasis on your growth and your personality. Awesome. Then there's the transits, what's happening in the sky now. How is that responding to your chart? That's the horoscopes that you read. But your solar return is the chart that you have from birthday to birthday. That's when the sun returns to the place it was at the moment of your birth by degree. And so
that doesn't happen every year.
And it happens once a year. And it doesn't have to happen on your birthday. So I'm born April 22nd. My solar return might actually be on the 23rd because the sun is in a different place every year. Yeah. But it's always going to be within one of those days. And so that chart is significant because it shows what type of solar year you're going to have. What's your personality like this year, and how you're going to go about going after the things that you want, or how you're going to act at work, how you're going to act in relationships this year.
And every year is different.
And every year it's different.
And that's why I be feeling like my pants be fitting different every year. Like, this don't return soon. Right. What's going on? No.
Mercury's in retrograde.
But I also wanted to ask retrograde. People have literally been blowing up social media about like, oh, it's in retrograde. Like, I'm like, oh, this is happening. I'm stressed. It's in Mercury's in retrograde.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's an internet thing that just spreads, and it's fun, whatever. Everybody makes jokes. So basically, planets go retrograde. This is not a unique thing. Retrograde just means that it appears to move backwards. Like if we're on a train and our train isn't moving and the train is going fast, we're going to feel like we're moving back. That's literally what a retrograde is. So the planet is slower, it's stationary, and so it's not moving forward. It's not acting how it wants to act. It's not free. And so things go awry. So with Mercury, because it's fast moving, it follows the sun, it goes retrograde the most often. So 3 times a year for 3 weeks, it's retrograde. And so during those periods, because Mercury rules communication, it rules travel, information, messengers, back and forth. It rules a lot. And so it's just things get chaotic because Mercury is like, it can't move.
Wow. Why does it happen?
It's just a planetary, it's a space thing. You know what I mean? Like astronomers are following, and astrology and astronomy have split, but they used to be one and the same in ancient times. But now it's astronomers still they travel eclipses. I mean, they follow eclipses and with Mercury retrograde and all that. So in astrology, it's believed that affects us, especially people that are Mercury ruled. So you as a Gemini would be more affected. Virgos would be more affected, or if you have a Gemini rising, or if you have a Gemini moon, or if you have a Virgo moon, because that's your ruler, it's going to feel even more chaotic to you.
Ooh, makes so much. I can't wait to get into these charts. But right before we do, I want to make sure we give space for the gift of the Nile.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah.
We talked about you as an astrologist, and really, honestly, the breadth of information you have. Like, this has been amazing. But you have products as well. Give you the space to really talk about it and talk about how that really came to be.
Yeah. So Gift of the Nile is just like a gift that came out of my gifts. It's like this easiest way. So I've had opportunities to create astrology products as a product developer. And to me, it never felt authentic to just slap a zodiac sign on. Like that, what does that mean? I'm slapping a zodiac sign on a lip gloss. Okay, fun, exciting, not creative at all. And so it's just not my style. I'd rather do something that's organic. And so I had the idea because of my connection to Egypt. My dad's a scholar, and he's really I've raised around Egyptologists, and I'm named after it. That idea to merge Egyptian astrology, because I don't think it's a coincidence that that's my name, and I'm an astrologer, and I'm into these things. I think that's divine. And so so one day I was like, what do I do? My brother's like, name it Gift of the Nile. Like, why would it? That's what your name means. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I was like, that's the perfect brand name. And so I just started getting downloads of, I'm going to create products that people can use that make them feel better. And it's going to be tied to astrology. They can use it during a full moon or a new moon, or they can use it every day. And I'm going to show them how to use it. So basically the first products that I launched in November of last year, 2021, are these beautiful aromatherapy mood mists.
Okay, good. We're excited.
Let's talk about the one that you just sprayed.
Yes.
Because honestly, when I tell you the spray is so lasting, it's such a great scent. Like, talk about
so this one, so this is Earth. All these myths are named after an Egyptian god. Yeah, that's you. So that's the connection to astrology, the earth signs, the air signs, the fire and water. Nice. So the first set was the mist of connected to the elements. So the earth is about being grounded and stable. And so the mist has the qualities, and that's in your chart. So you're an earth sign, you're a grounded, stable person. You have an earth rising. Yeah. Even though you're a Gemini, you're social, you come across as down to earth. Yeah. And people like that. And you have Venus in you. So we'll get to that. But so the earth, I want people to, okay, girl, you were running around all day. You came from Burbank.
Yes. Right.
Let's ground ourselves.
Love it. Oh
so
my God,
essentially, it's aromatherapy, and so aromatherapy is a very ancient thing used in Egypt. And I wanted to tie astrology, that. And
so how do you use it? You just spray it in the air? Do you spray it on yourself? Because I know some people like to put it on themselves, and I know I was watching maybe like a Netflix documentary, and they were saying like, everyone's doing the aromatherapy, and like too much of it is bad. People were like putting it in their smoothies, putting it in their thing, like just really ingesting it, and like too much of it is like too much. It's not healthy.
Yeah, and some people have allergic reactions to essential. Not all essential oils are created equal, so if you are using them, you need to patch test. But basically, this is a spray. So you can spray it either on yourself, you can spray it in the air, you can spray your room, you can spray your car, the shower, and it's basically shifting the energy of the space. It's grounding us. It makes us more focused. I do this before I have meetings. I do this if I want before I go to bed. I spray this on my pillow every night because it's just gonna.
Is it the same or equal to sage?
Because I was like, I just started getting into sage.
Sage isn't, so I have sage oil in here. So so sage is an energy shifter. So the idea is that this is just a mist that you don't have to light to do that, and it's
nice because it does smell after you light the sage.
It does.
But
that's a weed smell. Yeah, this is a divine smell.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. What's the retail value?
So this one's $32.
Okay.
And so there's 4 of those.
Yes. So what is this one?
That's the fire. So that's for the Aries, the Leo,
What's
the
in this one?
So that one has.
Did we say what was in the?
Oh, so this one has patchouli, vanilla, sage, and lavender. Yes.
And that's in the earth.
And that's in the earth.
Okay.
And so the fire one has ginger, lemon, orange, grapefruit. It's uplifting. You have to twist.
Oh, I was like,
it's high quality twist one.
Yes.
And so that's more spicy.
It does smell a little spicy.
Yeah.
Ginger, you said.
Yes. And that's for fire. So when you need to be inspired and creative, because
creative.
you spray that because you're like, I need some energy.
Right.
And
it's done, okay?
We're having too much fun.
Right.
Okay.
And then the air, that's when you want to communicate better. So that's the Gemini energy, the Libra energy, your moon sign.
Right.
And
so
so
my moon
air.
sign. Wait, I'm a Gemini moon?
You're a Libra moon.
Oh, okay.
Look at her.
What she
So air is about connection and if you need to talk better. So that one has cedar wood and eucalyptus and very uplifting. Yeah, so very uplifting. And so it's helping you get, like, if you need to have a serious conversation with someone, you don't want to offend them or you want to be clear in your thoughts, spray the air. I'm like, okay, I need to get my thoughts across. And then the water one, water is.
I'm such a scenty person. I'm sorry. I have to smell everything.
I love it.
Spraying everything. I'm like, I need to smell it.
Yeah. And so water is about intuitive feeling. So if you need to get clear in your feelings, if you want to, if you're in your feelings and you want to move through them, if you want to be more empathetic, some people don't have empathy. So you might need, like, it's very soft and that one has chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Scorpio moon.
Akila's about to be like, you coming in the house, let me spray you. What energy are you coming with? Spray. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Get her hands on these. It's about to be a problem.
My hands are all over it.
Okay. I need to spray everybody. I need you to spray it.
No, listen, you get into a little something, like, what energy are you in? Let me spray you.
For real.
Don't get me started, Astro Fashionista. Love that. Okay, so those are the sprays. And
those are the
also
sprays. And there's a love collection too that just released. And this is about, it's not about, if you are looking for a partner and you want love in your life, yes, you can use this. But if you're in a relationship and you want more romance, you want to feel more sexy, you want to spice up your life, you use these too. It's a love collection. It's named after Hathor. She was the Egyptian goddess connected to love and beauty and fertility, like Venus. So before Venus, before Aphrodite, there was Hathor. That was what I said in my
Talk about it.
Yeah, like, let's really go back to the roots. And so that collection, it has blue lotus, it has amber, jasmine, and vanilla, and papyrus. And it's very exotic. I carried the oils in that from Egypt personally, and I mixed it and put it. And so that's a mini version of the spray. So that's more romantic. If you spray it, you'll see it's very sexy.
So we have the mood mist, like you mentioned.
And there's a candle. And there's actually
a candle too.
And there's an oil.
Love a good candle. Okay.
And I brought 2 of them so you guys can each have them.
It smells good.
And this is the oil that you rub on you. It's a natural perfume oil.
Yes.
And it's really good. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
It smells like a cocoa butter vibe, like kind of.
Yeah.
It smells. Here, smell it. Describe, like, it has what is in there?
Spray.
So there's
Or is this the oil?
There's
the oil.
That's the spray, but there's the oils has it too. It's blue lotus.
I know. Say it again.
Papyrus.
You said it, but I'll say it again because now that I smell it, I'm like, wait a second. What?
It does smell a little tropical.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's what you're smelling, but it's the mix of, like, I wanted to have both masculine and feminine. So the papyrus is, so it's like papyrus, but it also has the blue lotus and the amber. Those are very rich, but then it has jasmine and vanilla that's very soft. And so when you merge those, it's like, ooh, it's
sensual,
very sensual.
right? It is.
Yes.
Keeks will tell you I am like obsessed with scents on top of just things that smell like a guy.
Oh.
I'm like, I love the way like a man smells.
Yeah.
And so even on myself, I like the way it smells.
Yeah.
So when I go to like Bath and Body Works or something and like buying things, I look at like the fresher scents, things that are like pear or like ocean, water, like cinder. Yeah, like because I already know it's gonna have like a fresh light scent. Yeah. And I don't want to smell like too much like a man. Yeah. Like I'd like to have that touch too. So yeah 100%.
Awesome. Oh my gosh.
Well, Keeks, tell us what else we have going on at the Black Creators Club. What else is popping off?
Okay, what is in the charts
What's
for the
in
Black Creators Club? Okay,
what's in the charts?
The charts say, subscribe to us now. It says like. Okay, so the best way that you can support us is to share this show with a friend, subscribe to our YouTube page, our Apple, Spotify pages, or podcasts. Everything is at the Black Creators Club. And so when you do, please rate, please leave a review on our podcast page. It goes a long way. So we will read fan shout outs on the air. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions for future guests or topics, let us know at theblackcreatorsclub@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to get into our game, or really more or less Tamerii reading our charts for us.
Yes.
We're so excited to have this happen. I don't know. Like, Akila has, had this experience before, but I never have. Yeah. So I'm like really excited. And then I'm excited to see how we match each other.
Yeah, that's a good question too.
Yeah. All right.
Too late, regardless.
I know.
We're married, but yes.
And that's synastry. That's how one person's chart impacts with another chart. So
Nice.
That's a synastry chart. Okay.
Maybe this will help with the communication. That's
right.
good. That's good.
Okay, so we'll start with Ebony since I have yours up. Okay, so basically, let's see, I don't know.
Right. Can we see? We're gonna have to put it. We'll have to show it. Yeah.
Okay, so you gave me your birth time. I hope it's accurate.
It's super accurate.
It's from
my
your birth
mom.
certificate.
Yeah.
Oh, for your mom. Okay.
And my mom.
So that's very important because that sets the houses, it sets the rising sign, the ascendant. And so basically your rising sign is the sign that was appeared to be rising or ascendant over the eastern horizon at the moment of your birth. And so it's almost like that sign imprinted on your aura and you wear that externally. So what you give off, the vibes you give off before people even meet you would be Aquarius rising, assuming this. And the reason why I'm saying assuming is because it's at 0 degrees. So had you been born maybe a few minutes before, you would have been a Capricorn rising. And so the rising sign, and so you tell me if this sounds accurate, because the rising is, because it rules your appearance and how you come across, but you have Uranus really close to there. Aquarius is about innovation and breaking barriers and being a trailblazer. Someone that doesn't want to be put in a box, someone that likes to be different. Aquarius rising people usually have some sort of physical thing that's different about them, whether they dress different and funky, maybe their hair is different and they like to change it up. So I remember I was like doing a reading for someone and it was Aquarius, right? And she had a lot of inner chart and I was like, very different, unique appearance. Like she has to scream that she said she had tattoos, like full sleeve. Like I was like, oh, yes, Aquarius rising, yes. And so there's something about you that likes to be different and unique. And because Uranus is really close to the ascendant, that would even more emphasize that, very innovative, forward thinking, but a little bit of a rebel. Now, because you're a Taurus sun, that is completely different energy than Aquarius. And Aquarius is an air sign, but it's a fixed air sign. All the fixed signs, they like things to kind of stay the same somewhat. They like to be in control. They like to know what they're getting into. And so Taurus is also a fixed sign, but it's an earth sign. So we're talking about air energy versus earth energy. The earth side of you, the Taurus, is very stable, grounded. You were born at 21 degrees of Taurus. That's the decan that is actually ruled by Mercury, communication. And it would mean that you're someone that, even though you're a Taurus and stable, there's this need for, actually, by the way, you're born in the 3rd decan ruled by Saturn. So very business, structured, organization, need to know what you're doing. And there's a need for stability there. Now your sun is in the 4th house, and the 4th house is the house that's at the very bottom of the chart. And that is connected to family, home, ancestry. So whenever someone has the sun in the 4th house, there's like this eternal pull towards family life. Now, this either manifests as the family being really important to your personality development because it's your sun. Sometimes it's the father because the sun is connected to the father in the chart. There might be a connection to ancestry. There might be a need to either go to explore your ancestry, or there's just an idea of you want to create a family for yourself. But part of your identity is tied up in this idea of family and home and having a stable atmosphere when the sun is in the 4th house. And the South Node is there. And the South Node is the node of the moon. It's not a planet, it's a point. And the South Node is like past, and it's a past life energy. So you have somewhat of a conundrum because there's this sun in the 4th house that wants to express itself in the home, but then there's a pull towards career goals and achievement because the North Node's in the 10th house, the house that's the highest in the chart, and that's connected to career. You have Pluto in the 10th house opposing that moon. So there's opposing the sun. So there's this pull and this power struggle. Like, how do you find the balance between home life and family life? And maybe feeling like sometimes you feel like you have to sacrifice one or the other. You're supposed to find the balance between those two things. Now, the ruler of your chart, because you're an Aquarius rising, it's Saturn traditionally, but also Uranus in the modern astrology. And Saturn is in the 2nd house, which means that money and security are even more important to you than the average person. And like that is going to be something that weighs on you throughout life. And it's almost feeling she's laughing. Saturn in the 2nd can express a couple ways. Sometimes it's feeling like you don't have enough, and it could be a mentality like, no, I don't want to spend because I got to keep these coins, because Saturn is about preservation. And so it can mean that you really need like to have a savings or feel like you have a certain amount of money in the bank to feel secure. But sometimes it can also bring lessons around money and self-worth because Saturn is connected to hard lessons. And Saturn in astrology wants us to level up. It's like the hard parent that's like hard on you so that and then you look back and you're like, I'm glad Saturn was hard on me. Like,
right,
you know, and so for you, Saturn in the 2nd, because the 2nd house is connected to money, there's going to be lessons around value and what do you value? And as a Taurus, because Taurus is connected to money and relationships, it involves that. So I think the partners that you choose are super important to self-worth and value, your own self-worth and value, going back and forth between, do I have enough, and trusting that you have enough. Like there's going to be all these things. And when you go through your Saturn return, which is going to be, because you're 26, so in the next 3 years, Saturn will be approaching itself in your chart, and those things are going to come up for you. So this can be a time whereas if you've been really working hard and you've been really, responsible with your money and your resources, you can finally see payoff because Saturn wants to reward for good work. So if you're not doing those things, I would be like in the, accountants and financial advisors and being really strict and disciplined about money. I would do those things now because when Saturn comes to that area and it sees that you've been doing that, if you haven't done it, I don't know, then it'll be like, okay, I see what you're doing. Like, and then things can start to pay off. Now your moon in Libra, and this is a truncated, so I'm kind of focused on sun, moon, rising. Moon in Libra is a part of you that needs connection because Libra is about relationships. It's the sign of relationships. And it's funny that you say you don't like Aries because Libra is opposite Aries. So each sign has an opposite. Scorpio is opposite Taurus. Libra is opposite Aries. And so your moon sign, which is about harmony. You want people to get along. I would say you're probably a person that likes to bring people together. You like to have a partner when you experience things. I wouldn't say you're the person that wants to go on vacation by themselves, although with that, Uranus in the 1st house, you might shock somebody just take off. But the moon in Libra in the 9th house is connected to learning and media. So emotionally, and it rules the 6th. I think what you're doing here with this podcast is actually really good because the 6th house is about daily habits and routines. It rules the 6th. The moon rules that house, and the moon's in the 9th house of information and media. And it also rules, higher education, like if you were going back to school or if you, it also rules like courts and judges and stuff. But like one of the main things about 9th house moon is somebody that likes, they appreciate a global perspective because the 9th house can be connected with travel. So travel might be important to you, people from other foreign countries or lands, and really respecting and wanting to understand that. And that Venus is in Aries, ironically, the Aries that you said. So in relationships, you're showing up more Aries-like. And
it's true.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
And you have Mars, the ruler of that Venus, in the 7th house of partnerships. So one thing that I can like kind of give you guidance on, because I still feel like you're a baby because you're like about 10 years younger than me. I have Venus in Aries too, because Venus travels really close to the sun. So if you are a Taurus sun, you're either going to have Venus in Taurus, Aries, Pisces. Sometimes it goes 2 signs out, but usually it's in one of those signs. So Venus in Aries is considered to be in its detriment, meaning that it's a foreign, like I said, the planets like to be in their own sign, because Venus is a sign that rules both Taurus and Libra, and Aries is opposite Libra. Venus is a foreigner in Aries. And so there can be a tendency to show up combative in relationships because Mars rules Venus, and Mars is about fighting and action and aggression. And your Mars is in Leo. You're very passionate. When you feel a certain way about something, you probably go really hard and really commit to it, and you stand in what you believe. And that Taurus, you have a lot of fixed energy in your chart. So you probably have strong ideals, and you don't like people to try to shift you. But Mars in the 7th can bring quarrels day to day with one-on-one relationships, either your partner, it can be, close business relationships too. But one thing that I would just encourage you to keep in mind is to take a beat when you want to react, when it's like a relationship issue that comes up. Like, don't just act, because Venus in Aries wants to be impulsive and go like, well, I'm about to write him this letter, child, because, it can be really riled up. And I would just take a beat and lean into the Taurus side of you. You also have Mercury in Gemini, so that's another connection for synastry too. Right. So you think a lot. You are very quick-witted, and you probably have a lot going on in that head of yours. And so you need to lean into the Taurus and be like, I'm just going to sit with this, because if I react, there's no taking that back. Mars also severs. So when you are too aggressive and you say something and you can't take it back, it can end a situation quick. And it's like, oh, I could have prevented that had I not said this. So that's just one of my tips. And career-wise, you should be doing deep, meaningful work, something that really helps heal people in some way. It could be connected to money. I mean, I know you're doing the podcast and you work in media. I do know that much. But I think if you're going to stay on this path, the work has to be meaningful and transformative for people. It's not going to be fluff, celebrity reporting, like something that's very deeper and helps people really think and be more pensive. So that would be my recommendation.
Nice.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
amazing.
Honestly, okay, so just to respond, and then we'll get to Akila's reading. So family, I think, yes. My dad is older. Well, my parents are both older, but my dad's older. And my dad has had health issues. So lately I've been kind of really wanting, and my dad's also been super sentimental. So just wanting to hang out with him more, spend time with him. It's a little difficult, but trying to just, balance, I live 45 to an hour, depending on the traffic in LA. It's really a 30-minute drive, but it can be an hour. We live far. I'm working, he's retired, so he has more time. So, it's just trying to find that balance of doing work and hang out with him. But family is really important to me. I didn't grow up with both of my parents in the same household. So for me, I feel like it's really important that I have a husband and me, and then we have our kids, and we raise it in the household, because it was something I never experienced. So it's something that I want to give to my kids, and also want to experience myself, to see what it would be like to have two people raising kids together in a household. My parents get along great, so I don't want to put that out there. We go to lunch and dinner together, it's a great time, we have fun, but just it wasn't together. Money, she started laughing when you said that, because I feel like money can be a thing for me, where I'm kind of my dad, he did such a great job raising me and spoiling me, and I'm his only only kid. So it's for me, my expectation sometimes when I am going out with people is you're gonna do what I'm used to.
You're gonna, that's the standard.
This is I don't know it any other way. You paying for dinner when we go out every time, or taking we go out with friends and you taking care of it. That's what I've seen. So that's my expectation. So sometimes it's a lot of pressure on people because they're I don't got it.
I'm not your daddy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm not spending that on, I'm not doing that,
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, money can be a thing. You also said something about saving money, or me feeling I don't have enough. And I think that spoke to me, because that's exactly how I feel. Yeah. I'm every time I get to another level, I'm oh, great, I made it to another level of payment, another level of career. And I'm okay, this is great. And then once I settle in that, I'm I don't have enough. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to spend this. I don't want to, like, you were like, financial advisor. Akila actually recommended me one.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I'm so, like, about saving my money. Like, I'm so on it. Like, I'm kind of like, I budget myself. I'm like, okay, I'm only going to spend this much for the next time I get paid. I want to have the X amount in my account. And I'm like super stressed about it. So anything that takes me outside of like my ideal spending limit gives me anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's real.
And then you mentioned something about relationships. What did you say? It was something like feeling really deeply or like wanting to have the connection.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, 100%, like I'm an only child. Like, and normally I think people's ideas of me would be like super selfish. I am spoiled, and that I do claim. But also wanting to be by myself.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I'm not like that. I'm like, oh, please hang out with me.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yeah.
like not wanting to do solo trips, like not wanting to have that connection. Being friends with someone really means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I take a lot into that. So for me, with communicating friendship wise, I'm more conscious to be not as like abrupt with someone or not really express myself 100% how I feel, because I'm like, I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
And I feel very like I do have an opinion or I do feel a way,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I need to just, I'll not say anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, but in relationships, like with a man, I'm definitely more like
Aggressive.
combative.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Like,
Venus and Aries. No one would ever think that.
Yeah.
Like, that's my problem. That's where you see the fire.
That's why you see the fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't like that. Like, why did you do that? You're stupid. What's happening? Like, I'm so combative when it comes to like dating or expressing I don't like something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does get me in trouble. A lot of the time it gets me in trouble because they don't like that. Like, they don't like that energy, but I'm at the same time, I'm like, I guess it's like I don't get to express it anywhere else. So like this is where it comes out, because I'm like, you know, we're dating. Like, it's not just like me being your friend, and we're friends, but it's like, it's more than that.
Yeah.
So then I feel like it's more pressure for me to like make sure that like I'm committing to something that like makes sense for me.
Yeah.
So I'm more on it.
And I think that's something you have to get control over, because, and I'm not saying it's bad, but thinking about what you want. You said you want a family, and the sun in the fourth is important, but Venus also rules that fourth house. And so that house needs harmony. That means you had a harmonious, you know, experience growing up most of the time. And it's important for you to have that. But if you're the fire, you can create your own discord in your own home. And so that's one of the things that you want to be aware of. And not saying that it's going to be all your fault, because it's always a two in the relationship.
Right.
But
That's why we're getting our charts read.
Yeah.
When I commit to something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, hey, watch this clip.
Right, yes,
You see, you heard what's happening. That's a good point, though, because you don't want to. Well, I'll let you say it.
Yeah, you just want to take responsibility for how you're showing up in a relationship. That's all you can do. You can't control how they're going to react.
Exactly.
So if you act at your best, highest self, and that doesn't mean be a pushover, it just means take a beat, because Aries is about speed and impulse. And so when you have Venus there's things you can do and say that you can't take back. Like, I've done a lot of things, and I don't regret, because I feel like when I did it, when I got to a certain point, because Tauruses, we know how to let things build up, you know, where I've been like, well, okay, that's it, I'm moving out. And then I moved out and never looked back. And then I'm like, dang, maybe I should have just been like, and it all worked out for the way it was supposed to, but like, maybe it could have been differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I let things build up, but I'm also someone that's like, if something's really bothering me, like I have to get it off.
Yeah,
Like I can't hold it
it's
in,
already
because
built.
I will be like, I feel guilt. Like immediate, I feel like I have a really big problem with guilt. Right? Like so I try to go to therapy. Like that's an insurance problem. But like I have a really immense problem with guilt. Like I'll just still feel really guilty about something. So sometimes I'm like, okay, I have to get this off my chest. I feel X amount. Or if I'm really angry about something, I'll let it sit or fester for a couple of days, and then I'm like, I'm still really angry about this. Like,
so
we have to talk about it. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. That was great.
I know some of the things you were saying was funny, because you were like change, and you like to switch up. And like, I guess my freckles and my red hair would be the things that like make me different, my unique appearance. But it's, because that's what I get the most compliments on. But it was funny when you were like switch up and change. I was like, that's definitely Akila. Like I was feeling like, oh, that sounds like Akila loves his, and like outfits and hair, like she loves it. And so I was like, oh, like that sounds, but no,
Gemini side of you.
Yeah. But no, that's true. Like those are my unique features.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. So let's pull up Akila.
This is so exciting.
This is exciting.
There's some things where I was like, okay, at first when you started, I was like, am I resonating with this? Am I resonating with this? Am I thinking it? And then
you really get into
I was
the-
like, okay,
yeah.
then there were some things that I was like, okay, wait, yeah. And then I started thinking about it and I was like,
Yeah.
Probably different moments.
maybe
right.
Yeah.
it's not showing up as like overtly or as aggressive as
Yes.
like how it is being read on the chart,
Mhm.
but there could be like a synergy some
Yeah,
other place.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's not all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like that's our personality. It
Mm-hmm.
can feel like, yes, I know my identity, but your personality there's certain things going on in your life at one point. It's always
Yeah.
changing. And so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
in the
because you
chart.
said career, like really high up career, and I was like, okay, like, I'm still figuring that
You're supposed
out.
to- yeah, like the North Node in the 10th house is someone that should be reaching for recognition somewhere.
Well,
it might
that's
not
true.
feel always
Like you got that.
comfortable,
Right.
but you're working towards it.
And
So
that's
it's more
and I
that.
feel like that's what we're doing here at the Black Creators Club. Like my big goal is like to win a daytime Emmy.
Oh,
So-
see, there you go.
Yeah.
I love that goal.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay, Aquila. So Aquila is so we've gone through the rising sign. So
Yeah.
we talked about the Gemini, but let's talk about the rising being Taurus. So that's fixed earth, very stable, grounded, personable. Venus
True.
ruling your chart gives you a natural charm, and people are naturally attracted to you because Venus is about attraction, and you just come across as relatable and harmonious. And so, and you have Juno there too, and Juno is a asteroid that's connected to relationships. So I would say relationships are really, really important to you, and they're actually really important to your career and your growth and how you're going to move ahead. And so Venus is also really close to your sun. Now your sun is in Gemini. That's the part of you that likes variety. I feel like Gemini energy is about change. It's a mutable air sign, so it's just imagine the wind moving back and forth. That's like Gemini, and it's ruled by the twins, and that's where the when people say, oh, you have two sides, it's like it's this duality. It's more about a duality energy, and that's always gonna be with you. And you're in the decan that is associated with Uranus and Saturn, the last 10 degrees of Gemini. So that would be even further emphasized. Now, Venus is really close to your sun sign. And Venus within 1 degree of the sun or any planet is considered to be cazimi. And that means that it can operate really well. It's in Gemini. So Venus doesn't rule Gemini, but Venus in Gemini means that you can be good with your words, the things that you say, you know how to speak goodness into people. You're very witty. It's a part of your personality because the Venus is working with that sun. Like you're someone that can just express who you are, and it feels a little bit more fluid versus someone else who doesn't have the same placement. Now, Venus and the sun are both in the second house. Again, finances become really important. For you, I would say there might be times where you are a spender and you're just like, I want to have nice this because Venus is about pleasures.
Yeah.
And so being like, I need to feel this way. I want to, you know what I mean? And you're willing to work hard for it because Saturn is trining that Venus. So I wouldn't say you're irresponsible. I think the Saturn actually gives you a little bit more balance there, but always going to want to identify with making money and having nice things. And Mercury, the ruler of your sun, and that Venus is in the third house of communication. And so you really should be communicating, but because Mercury is in Cancer, it's almost like you have an intuitive ability to say the right things at the right time, like being able to pick up on how people are feeling and then speak, which is a gift, right?
Yeah.
And because Mercury's in the third house, it gives you a keen ability to process information. I would say this is intelligence would be high with Mercury in the third house. In Cancer, you can connect your memory to feeling. Like how you felt is directly connected. Okay, I felt like this, and then you can recall it. Where there might be some issues is in familial relationships or some pain around there with Chiron in the fourth house. Chiron is the asteroid that's connected. It's the wounded healer. And so where Chiron is, we all have it in our chart. It shows where we have some sort of issue that we need to overcome. And once we do, we can help others in that same arena. So when Chiron's in the fourth, there might be pain connected to a parent or a family member. It doesn't even have to be parents. A lot of times it is though. And you're learning how to heal, and your self-worth needs to build around that healing. And once it does, your relationships become better. You become better at counseling others. You're a person that has strong attachment. So even though you come across as very light-hearted and stuff, you're serious. I would say you're a serious person.
Yes.
The Scorpio moon conjunct Pluto, you don't take relationships lightly either. I know you said that, but there's a commitment. Like if I'm going to ride for you, I'm going to ride for you, because Scorpio is a fixed energy. It's ruled by Mars and Pluto. It's passionate. The moon in Scorpio is considered to be in detriment, meaning it doesn't operate there. So it's sometimes all or nothing. So you don't know how to be fake or be in and out, like you're either with them or not. And so the hard thing would be finding that reciprocated, especially in a relationship, a romantic one, but also, you know, partnerships, like feeling like, okay, who's going to be how I'm showing up? Who's going to be that for me? And there's a little bit of balance that you need to learn and trusting. And I think it is also tied to whatever went home. And we don't have to go as deep into your family because this is like this is a speedy reading, but there's like healing something there so that you can learn, because I think you can attract this person that is that for you because your descendant is in Scorpio. So your person will be, you might even have that person. I'm not going to make assumptions.
No child.
But
Blank slate.
that person has to be very strong, like you're warrior, loyal to a fault. Like that's what you're looking for, and you shouldn't settle for that, because if you do, you won't. It will not be good. And you also have a strong ninth house. Your north node is in the ninth. Yours in the 10th, yours in the 9th, and the 9th house is about, you know, it's media, it's foreign lands, it's learning, education. So I would say you're someone that's going to always be taking in new information. That would be true for Gemini too. But just like learning and expanding, I think mentors and people that you can look up are going to be really influential for you. Having somebody that can help you in your career. I think you can get help from your relationships and networking and having guidance there. At times it might feel, and you're actually in your Saturn return right now in career. So it's almost like a shift where it might feel like things are difficult, but you're on the precipice of like, okay, Saturn paying off and then you moving to another level. And so I think it's all about, you know, when I see oppositions in the chart here, there's this duality of like, okay, I'm a Taurus rising and I'm nice, but that Scorpio moon, like you better, if you're going to be with me, you better commit. And so I think finding balance between those two energies is going to be something you'll always need to do. Like lean into that pleasantry, the niceness, and without being taken advantage of course.
Right. Wow.
I'm impressed.
We're gonna dive in, but I'm just curious. Well, let's dive in. Because honestly, this was so, and she's mentioned before I had like a reading, but I wouldn't say I had a reading. It was kind of like I brought an astrologer for my birthday, a couple of my close friends, and we did like a group.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, let's just go one by one. Yes. You mentioned the relationships too. And I think it's true because literally what I realized is like, I think my number one priority for friends, for family is loyalty. Yeah. I didn't know how to place it before, but then I think through like some of my best friends are friends for decades or like, you know, or change at the drop of a dime is because the loyalty was really like taken advantage of or not shown. And I'm like, yeah, no, like this, if this is not there, I can't have it. And I think that's another piece why, like when you think of like dating in the current age, right?
Girl.
And the idea of this like glorification of situationships and like you date you, and I'm like, no, if you with me,
it's all or nothing.
You are with me. Right. And if I'm with you, I'm with you. Like, you know, that's how it is. So it makes so much sense how you said that. And even the family piece, like we don't have to go super in depth, but that was like spot on. Like literally spot on. Like, you know, grow up like my family, we're like one of my immediate family, pretty much the only folks in the States. Like, so really grew up with like no one else in terms of like family around. So it's been super independent, super like driven because I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to be here, my mom has us here, I'm going to make it count, you know? And so that's kind of what it's been. But even like my immediate family members, things like that, like some issues there too. So that's like really, I wonder if that's like, when you said it, is if that's a continuous thing or if it's more like part of that Saturn return, you know?
So your Saturn return is opposing that. So those issues would come up. Yeah. Even if it's a lot of work focus, it's still opposing that family house. So it's like family is the reason maybe why you're grinding, because you want a better family situation moving forward. And at certain points, it'll be more activated. Like every year, a house gets activated from your birthday to birthday. That was something we haven't talked about. And so then those topics come up. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's not always on. Like you're feeling like this all the time. But it's there. It's there. Part of your personality.
It makes so much sense. And like even the money thing too, because it's true. There's moments where I'm like, okay, listen, I got it. Let's do it. Like, we
Yeah.
good. But it's like, it's always, do I have it? And do I have it to where I can get it 3 times over?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
It's not like
yeah.
I'm just out
Yeah.
here, but it's more like, if I'm out here, it's because I know, like, nah, even if this ends today, like, I'm still good. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's,
Wow, that's so accurate.
Right, it's so accurate. So
Yeah.
it's like, even that is interesting. And I think even how you mentioned how it kind of bubbles into careers and like the entrepreneurialness of me, I'm like, okay, like, how are we going to make this make sense?
Yeah.
Dollars and cents.
Right.
As well as sense. Like, and obviously the communication, all that really, it's became something that now I'm like, okay, it's not a natural ability everyone has. And so when you talked about earlier, like leaning into those gifts, I think going into media was like more leaning into that gift. And
Yeah.
it's not like it's not common. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. And then you mentioned 2 other things that trusting and mentors. So yeah, that's one thing that I think, especially the Saturn return, is very evident, is like, I don't trust very easily,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I'm very jovial. So it's like, you know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, if you want to come on board, come on this ride, like, let's chat, let's be friends. But I'm like, what's up with you? Like, what's up with you before I really show what's up with me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that is so true. And with
Yeah.
the mentorship, like, I think that's the stage where I'm at, where I'm like, okay, I know where I bring to the table from a career perspective, from whatever, like, but I know I would need really people around me and like help,
Yeah.
you know, so I want to be able to look up to someone else. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have that where I'm looking up to you, you know?
Yeah, and
So,
I think that would
yeah.
help you a lot
Mhm.
also, professionally. Just
Yeah.
having somebody that you can call about things that's kind of been through what you've been through.
Right.
Yeah. Or on a similar path of where you see yourself going.
yeah.
I love that. I mean,
Mhm.
I think your chart was like so accurate and like just listening, just like hanging out with her and like I think how you read it was just like so spot on.
Oh,
like,
good.
It was
Yeah.
Literally.
literally, like everything. Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Okay, so is there a way that you could like compare our charts and like how we get along and how we communicate, how
Yeah.
we talk, or like what's the best, you know?
Yes.
Or actually, one more thing too, before
yeah.
you do, because you were saying like, I know, like, you know, in terms of you being around your age now, where it's like, okay, what you do now would really change not even change her trajectory, but it's gonna make a difference. And you like how you said, for me, it's like you're on the cusp. But like, I'm curious, what would be the things to do now, or like explore now, whether career, love, like relationships, like that
So,
development.
Yeah, so career wise, you have so you're actually going to be moving out of your Saturn return, somewhat, and it's more about, well, next year you'll still have it, but I would say probably end of next year, going into 2024, you'll be kind of in the clear and you'll start to see more rewards. Not that you're not going to have rewards
Right.
before then, but right now is a time for, okay, I'm really going for my career right now.
Mhm.
Like, I'm putting in all the energy. I'm going to commit to something. I'm going to be disciplined, because
Mhm.
Saturn's about discipline.
Yeah.
And so when you're committed and you're organized, that's when you see the most gains. And so you're kind of in like more of a building phase
Mhm.
in terms of like over the past, I would say 2 years.
Yeah.
You're in a 6-year in numerology. So that would mean that your home and family would be a focus too, like the undertone for 2022. But you're turning 30 this year, right?
Mhm.
Then you're going to move into what's called a 7th house perfection years, which means that the 7th house is kind of lit up. This year, meaning your birthday from 2020 to 2021, was about, there was a lot of work and systems and health things might have been the topic. 7th house perfection year is about relationships.
Yeah.
So it's a time where, and you, and
Ice me out.
No, this one right here in money. No, what? This is why we get along.
That's my problem. We get
Right,
right,
exactly. Yeah.
that is so funny. Yeah.
That's ice me out.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. So,
she was manifesting it.
right? I'm not
okay.
even mad at that. So when the moon is activated, Pluto's activated, the 7th house, and we're going to be having eclipses. And so eclipses, solar eclipse, a new moon or full moons, those are like new moons and full moons on steroids. And so
okay.
full moons are about completions and things paying off, wrapping up. New moons are about planting seeds. And so because we're having it in it'll be in your 1st and 7th houses, you and your relationships, it can really shift the way you show up in partnerships, what you think about relationships, but it also can bring someone, out of the blue. Eclipse sometimes are events that happen out of the blue. It can end things out of the blue that
Right.
people, like if you had a situationship that you know isn't right, then it might, go away at this time. But right now I would say, especially after your birthday, there's going to be a real focus on relationships and
That
what you're
makes
looking
so
for.
much sense.
That's
Oh my
good.
goodness. That makes so much
Wait,
sense.
where's mine? Where's mine?
Now we're like, wait.
Are we getting a man
Yes.
anytime soon? Or am I still focusing on career? What's happening?
She doesn't give dates. She doesn't give dates.
I said soon.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
need a date.
That's
I just
true.
need,
That's so
I just
funny.
need to know it's in the chart. So I just need to know
That's so true.
it's coming.
It
Eventually.
makes sense. I moved to LA 2 years ago.
Oh,
and what you were
see?
saying was like, yeah, career stuff or like in limbo with that, like the whole relationship thing. We were talking about me like traveling to different cities, trying to see what's popping.
Yeah, yeah.
So that makes so much sense. But yeah, let's go.
I
ahead.
love it.
Yeah. And so when you turn 30, we
Mm-hmm.
all, every time someone turns 30, they're in a 7th house perfection year.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean, so the relationships become a focus, but the planets and what's there is how it goes about.
Yes.
So it's not like everybody when they turn 30 gets in a relationship. It's just, okay, what planets are there? Who's the ruler of that chart? And what is that ruler doing? And so, but because you're having the eclipses going on and you have Uranus in your first house, it's just, there's a lot of change in that area that's coming up for you.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be the same as whatever you've experienced
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm.
year. For the next 2 years, I'd say it's going to
Praise
look
the
completely
Lord.
different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Praise the
Praise
Lord.
the Lord.
She was getting the phone calls.
No, I love the drama, but you want to see your friend happy.
yeah, yeah, of course. Okay, so you guys want to look at together. I mean, I already see a couple synastry things because, so you're a Taurus, your rising is Taurus,
Mhm.
and so you can quickly identify with each other. Like,
Yeah.
there's like a familiarity there.
Right off the bat.
Right off the
Mhm.
bat.
Yeah.
Your moon is in Libra. Your moon is in Scorpio. So that's not a connection, but because you're a Gemini, so usually
Right.
when someone's a Gemini, their sun sign, and you have a moon sign or a Mercury that's next to that or in that same sign, there's an understanding. The energy just flows because you know how to talk to her, you know how to communicate with her because you have this Mercury Gemini, and then she's a Gemini, and so it becomes like a synastry point that's good. And then your Libra's in an air sign too, so the banter becomes really fun
Right.
and
Mhm.
exciting. And then because you are a fixed sign, the Taurus loyalty,
Yeah.
that helps her feel
Mhm.
more secure with that Scorpio moon. It doesn't mean you'll always be agreeable, but it
Right.
just means that there's like, even if we disagree, I'm still riding for you, like, because you can show up. So those are some of the synastry points that I don't even have to pull that up to see, just because I just did both of the charts.
Right.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, I'll speak for myself with Akila and like our
Yeah.
friendship. It's kind of like it's been such a easy relationship for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
there hasn't been any issues, and what does come up, it gets solved quickly. And so,
Mhm.
what I realized for me and my personality is, I'm someone who's like, I don't shy away from conflict, but I'm also not like going after it either.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like if it
Yeah.
if it comes to me, we can talk about it, but
Right.
at the same time, like I'm not like actively trying to be like, we got a problem.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
yeah.
So with that, and like me being used to, or like getting used to how she's direct, like she's very like, okay, what's the problem? What is it? Like, okay, well, this is what it was. This is how I feel. And then it kind of is like, all right, well, glad we had the talk, you know? Like, glad we had the discussion. And so it kind of like goes away quickly.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm like, I don't know if it says in the chart, but it's like wanting to make sure, like I said, relationships is so important to me. Like you read the charts. I'm like, I am a gatherer of people. When I was in college, I was the one bringing all the friends together. Like I am that person. But at the same time, I'm also like I said, I don't want to like, I feel fragile.
Yeah.
I feel like, we're never in a space of arguing. We have a
Yeah.
whole business together. We're going on 3 years of friendship, 2 years of business. And it's like, it's a fragile situation. Like you
Yeah.
don't want friendship or business to like go
Yeah.
under. So it's like such a touchy situation. But, so so I wonder if like that, how we operate, like how that
And
connects.
I want to touch on that too as you look that up, because I think what you were saying earlier in terms of being able to feel people's energy, I feel that energy from her a lot of times. So in terms of her like
tiptoeing,
I know,
if you
yes,
don't want
like
to
a
cause
tiptoeing
it. Yeah.
vibe, and so like for
Uh-huh.
me, it's more so like, okay, let's give her a space to say something. Maybe she'll say
Yeah.
something in a second, and if
Uh-huh.
not, then I'm like, okay, this is the thing, this is whatever
Right.
else, and it goes that way. So it's so interesting because it's like that's how she's feeling. but then it's also like, okay, I can feel that's how she's feeling, and I'm gonna be like,
you're very intuitive. Yeah,
Be
Scorpio
like-
moon is very
Right.
intuitive and
Right.
knows. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Knows how to tap in. Okay. So your Venus is conjunct Aquila's Mars, and so that is like, so Venus is about pleasure and fun, and then your Mars, it's almost like your relationship energizes, like you guys can get more energy together because Mars is
true.
about
That's true.
energy and
Mhm.
banter.
All we do is
That's true.
laugh when
That's
we're
true.
together. All we do
So it's
is
just
laugh.
like fun and uplifting. And then so there's different ways to look at it. So like right now, Aquila's on the inside and Ebony's on the outside of the ring. And so your sun falls into Aquila's first house. So again, that's that identity, like, okay, we understand each other. But at the same time, see, your sun opposes her Pluto. So I think when it comes to power struggles and who's responsible for what, there should be just clear communication. Like, okay, you're handling this, I'm handling that, all the time. So there's
Yeah,
no.
that's so
Okay.
literally
Yeah.
that was a suggestion. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And then your Uranus falls into Aquila's first house. So there's bringing change into the career, like a breath of fresh air. Like, okay. And so you said when you guys met, you were you instantly connected,
Yeah.
but then you created this business out of the blue, right?
True,
Totally.
true.
So
Totally out of
that's
the
like
blue.
the Uranus shakeup, like, okay, let's do something fun. And I think this idea, you guys will always embark on new things together. You know what I
Nice,
mean? Like
okay.
the change and all of that. Some of the change would highlight and force you to deal with some of the family stuff will come up naturally. Maybe even through your creative work, and maybe it's through this platform.
Yeah.
As you talk to different people, like you get more insights about things. Let's see what else. Yeah, I see. I'm gonna do.
It's like
switch
anything
it
else
around.
opposing. I just we want to be.
The oppositions are.
What is she
Yeah.
trying to say? This is my
No,
favorite.
there's
She
nothing
noticed
I'm
something.
saying. I
She
don't
wants
see
this
anything.
astro-fashionista.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I have no idea what this means. That's why I'm asking. I have no idea what this means. I just want to
Do
be
you, is
prepared.
there anything? You
Right.
sure there's nothing?
That's
We're gonna be
all-
friends forever, right? Is that what it says?
Oh my God, yes.
And she's like, all right. Tamari's like, let me the hell out of here immediately.
Yeah, you guys are good. I think there's a lot of natural synastry here. Your moon falling into her sixth house of daily habits. So there's an emotional need. Do you guys talk every day?
Basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Basically.
Six
I told so
Wow,
we got
that's crazy.
these rings that are like they match.
Yes,
Oh,
it
that's
says
so
BCC.
cute.
We have
Like,
matching
it's like,
rings,
oh.
the Black Creators Club
I love
rings,
that.
and I told her when we got them, when we purchased them, I said we're married now.
Right,
Just
she
know
really did.
We're married.
I love that.
Like you are mine, I
Yes,
am yours.
yes.
That's what we're doing.
Mhm.
I love that. Oh my gosh! Honestly, this has been like the
Amazing.
most informative.
Yes.
Like I've not gotten a reading before. Like someone reading my chart. I have.
Not
what
this
is it?
personal-
Co-star.
Yeah, co-star
Oh, co-star.
pattern.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
read the yearly horoscope, but
Yeah.
nothing to this.
It's deep.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
deep,
And it's very, I mean, I don't see why, to each your own, but I don't see why this could hurt you. Just to like get
that's
this
right.
extra,
Yeah,
right,
for
you know?
sure.
get a
Yeah.
reading on your personality and your
Right.
energy. right?
Totally. Yeah. Like,
right.
how am I showing up in the world?
Right,
That's
exactly.
kinda-
That's all it is.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a daily question that people
Mhm.
pose to themselves all the time. And
Yes.
I think sometimes even ask other people for that type of like, how do you see me? Like, how do I look today?
Yeah.
Like, do I show up this way? Do I show up that way? Like, always looking for that type of validation. And I
Yeah.
think this is a more neutral way of getting that validation than
Yeah.
like asking a friend or your man.
That's
For real. Because they be telling you some shit. You be like, oh my God, is that what you, that's not what, is that what you think?
Yeah.
Is that what you think? Oh, okay. Like,
I said, clearly you was reading somebody else. I'm like, how do I?
Right.
Up to you.
right.
Tamerii, this is amazing. And obviously we talked about astrology.
Yes.
We talked about the gift
So
of the
many
Nile.
things.
Yes.
How can folks, if they want to do this with you one-on-one, if they
Yeah.
want to buy products, like
Absolutely.
anything,
Yes.
how can they get
How
in
can they
contact?
find you?
Yes. Okay.
Right.
You can find me at astrofashionista.com. That's for readings. Thegiftofthenile.com is for the beautiful products. And then my handle is just at astrofashionista and at gift of the Nile. So those are the best ways to
Perfect.
find
Love it.
This has
Very
been
simple.
the most amazing conversation. So,
me. Yeah.
Keeks, where can they find you on social?
Yes, you can find me everywhere at Aquila Friend, chatting media, life motivation, all with a dash of style. Ebony or Ebony?
Yeah.
I don't even know my calls.
Right. Look at
Because I usually say Ab, and I was trying to be professional.
Right.
I know
I told you about your
Right.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right.
You guys can find me on Instagram at EbonyChapman12, chatting everything Black owned business and of course the Black Creators Club. We've had the most amazing fun time with Tamerii. We've laughed, we've almost cried, we've hugged, we've figured out our energies and what our charts look like. You guys, if you guys want to get your charts read, please contact Tamerii.
Yes,
we'll have all our contact information in the link below. You guys continue to have an amazing day and remember to always abide by your ABCs. Always be creating.